got to go get ice, gas, breakfast, and a shower. Feeling kind of sore, man. I've been working hard. Competition flying is intense. So let me go get these chores done. Looks like it's another possible 100-mile day today. I don't think we're gonna go that far. We don't officially have the task yet, but it's coming. Yeah, I got breakfast, got showered, charged up my flight instrument, and I got some water and ice and gas. Chores are done. All we gotta do is hang out with these guys and then hit the scabs, which is looking awesome. I didn't know it going in, but about halfway through the flight, I met up with this guy, Andrew. We flew together for probably the last half of the flight. I went left, he went right. We were working together. It was pretty fun. Since the animations got so many positive comments, I thought we would just check out some of this. Let's observe Brad's toe here. Watch him go into a thermal on his toe. Going back and looking at it from the GPS data, you can see clearly that he's in the thermal. Right about here he exits and he keeps on towing. See the path continue. You can see the clear bump in the track there where the thermal was. He has to go back, come back and find the thermal and then connect and start climbing out. You can see clearly the little dog leg in his path there. The preferred method, and the one that I like to use, is to disconnect right at the end of the thermal and turn around. Now I'm going to leave his track there, but I'm going to show you mine. I go into a thermal just about in the same place. I start climbing up right about there. I'm watching my Vario and I've got my hand on the release. As soon as my Vario starts to drop off, I pin off and immediately start turning into the thermal. There's the release, and then I just start coring it. I don't think it ever stopped beeping. And I ended up coring this thermal all the way to cloud base. It just never quit. Went all the way to the top on it. Good connection, I call it. Man, this is such a cool thing to go back and review these flights and see what went right, what went wrong. Since we got this going, just ride along with me for a second. We go through the climb, we go through the glide, but I want to talk to you about what goes on right here. This is called turning in zeros. I found a little lift and I was feeling around, making some turns, but I didn't really like it. It wasn't going up the way the previous course had, so I bailed from it. I didn't want to stay there and keep going. I went on my next glide and then boom, look, connected with a thermal immediately. I don't see Brad. I don't see anybody in the sky. You see his track right there next to mine. I didn't know any of this when I'm out there in the wild. I saw people a couple of times, but I'm looking for a better core. I'm just feeling. Once I get some altitude, I'm feeling. And I'm still not liking it. The day is not turned on the way I like it yet. So I'll go and glide again. And this is probably the lowest part of the flight here. Those chicken houses in that field, I just knew that there was going to be something there. I was going to count it as my bailout, and I decided to go across the street, and maybe I had this field picked to my right there, right by the road. I thought it was a good bailout, but look, what I was in turned into a good thermal, and I cored that sucker all the way up. I'm going to fast forward here to a portion that you may remember. Remember that awesome climb I had going over the lake? Well, it turns out this goal took me over the exact same portion, but something interesting happened here. I had to pull big ears to keep from going in a cloud. You see the little juke in the straight line climb right there? That's where I was pulling big ears, and I had to slow down my climb to keep from getting cloud sucked. And again, that thermal, it delivered. It sent me all the way across the lake. I was able to connect again. Awesome. Probably the most other memorable part of this flight was when I was with Andrew and we were team flying. He went right, I went left. I lost sight of him, and he told me, I've got birds. And I ended up getting low here and scratching, but I took a 40% asymmetric collapse right here. I froze it, back up. Now watch this. Right, blip, right there. I took the collapse, it opened back up. I believe Andrew got on the radio and said something, either said, ride 'em cowboy or ride that donkey. I don't remember, but it was one of those, I quote. And then, of course, I made it to goal. Task was only 53 miles. So we actually had quite a few in goal, and we got home early. The most people in goal in the whole comp right now. Fantastic, guys. Robert's up there somewhere. We'll try to video his landing. The sky has turned into this beautiful, gigantic, well, you can't really see it. I'll take a better picture of it. But man, it's a big sky. Big air everywhere, the whole comp. Hadn't overdeveloped, but it's like on the verge of it. Pretty neat. He's out there, you see him? Yeah, my glass ratio is... Dude's way up there. Pretty neat. Olivia, our bomb-ass driver. Love it.
Thank you.
The Gold Crew. What's up, y'all? All right, day number 4. He set a shorter task today. It was about half the distance of yesterday. So several more pilots made it to goal. I again made it to goal. I think it was 51 miles. I don't know. Everybody's talking kilometers and miles. I don't know. I just go where they tell me to go. My flight was actually a little worse today than yesterday. I mean, 51 miles is a fantastic cross-country flight, but I got low a couple times, below 1,000 feet. One time I was setting up to land. I thought I had bombed out like 10 miles from the airport, but the landing field I picked was just on the other side of this big chicken farm. Man, I nailed one and took it all the way to cloud base. I blew my first tow. A shade cycle came over and it just totally shut down the sky. When I pinned off, I didn't even hit a bump all the way down to the ground. So I landed, and they've got this thing that if you won the day before or hit goal the day before, if you're in first, second, or third positions in the entire competition, you can go in the hole at any point one time a day. So I had one like wild card to play, and so I played it, and it was a good gamble because I actually connected on the next one and rode it all the way to cloud base. As far as negative incidents, I had one major collapse. It was like a 40% whack. Thank goodness Cuervo taught me how to deal with that stuff. SIV, you know, a 40% whack. You just keep flying and you pump the glider open and get it back flying again. Everything went off without a hitch. It's big air out here in Texas. Regularly getting 1,000 feet a minute up climbs. I had to pull big ears several times because I was getting cloud sucked. Just big sky out here. There is no other word for it. Really enjoying the competition, and I'm doing well. I believe someone told me that I'm second place. I rarely look at the scores because frankly I just don't care, but that's that. That's today's flight. It was a good flight. I think we're gonna go to a restaurant because we're back in time for supper today. So yay. See you guys tomorrow. The night ended with proper socializing down at the local Mexican establishment. It was margaritas for everybody and a couple extra beers for Tim. This poor girl walked by and Robert pointed out her shirt. I was like, oh, please, miss, can I please take a picture with you? So she obliged. Thank you, random lady, for taking a photo with me.
Kyle, anybody ever tell you you look like Kenny fucking Powers?
I've heard this before. We're gonna start in Hearne to Marquez, then Buffalo, and the goal is in Oakwood. The day didn't really turn on. We've got this really high overcast. It's like a high cirrus. What I'm seeing is the clouds this is the most developed they've been all day. The last 4 days, some really substantial development early, and they really took shape, and there was some streeting. But today everything is real chopped and broken. The buoyancy to shear is very low. The buzzards are sort of just loitering at around 50, 100 feet. They're not soaring out like they've been doing. What he did for the competitors though, was he did a 15-minute start interval so that you can pick the time that you go. You can wait till it turns good before making your move. I'm new to the competition scene, so I'm not real up on how to game it or anything, but they were kind of explaining to me about the advantages of that. I'm just gonna feel it out. I'm gonna take my time and pick my window when the conditions look good. Another thing is the models are conflicting, so we may be fighting quite a crosswind too. And as the day goes on, it might shape up. It's tough to say. It's tough to say what's going on. But this high cloud it needs to blow on by if we're gonna get any sort of heat on the ground. Everything's shaded. Nothing's really heating the way it needs to. So I may wait till later in the day, and it's supposed to overdevelop maybe in some places. So possibility for rain and storms. That's kind of the weather report for today. Man, we've had some good days though. Best days of my whole paragliding lifetime as far as free flight. We'll feel it out, man. Each each day presents its own weather, so it's always different a little bit. You know, I really kind of feel like it's half a video because I'm not videoing the flying. The videos are so boring. I'm not really talking. I'm thinking. I'm focusing on the task. A lot of brain power is going into it, and also physical exertion. You're using your entire body to pilot these things. Your arms from constantly pulling on the lines to keep the gliders open, and you're using your inner core, weight shifting, leaning hard into a turn to get a more efficient turn. Today is the 5th day. I actually feel a bit stronger, but I went through a sore period after those first couple of big days. I did some walking in the heat that first day. That sort of stammered me, but steady diet of ibuprofen and beer in the evening seemed to help. I'm doing it right, I think. I feel good. I'm waking up each morning and having some breakfast. I got a good mental focus going on. I'm in the right place. I ain't even looked at the rankings today. I probably moved down because I had a slower fight than several people yesterday. I don't know, man. We'll see how it goes overall. If I can do well today, maybe I can do well in the competition. I don't want to turn this into some sort of thing like where the competition sort of overtook the joy and love of it, but these are really fun and it's a good challenge, and I'm just doing it for the challenge of doing it. I might do another competition sometime. That'll be fun, I think. Gaggle flying is pretty cool. They said this one kind of gets nicknamed the Lonestar Championship because when you do a tow launch, somebody else is already gone and somebody's coming a few minutes behind you. You're basically by yourself in the sky. I actually got to fly with another pilot yesterday for several miles. It was quite fun. We were working together, finding thermals and climbs, and I know it's a race, but we're just flying. Everybody's doing the same thing. It's quite enjoyable. Let me go get my gear squared away and put on my flying costume and wait for it to kick off. I might look at some satellite imagery and see what the day looks like. If this shit's gonna blow out and when it's gonna blow out, we can time our launches better. Fly some more Texas Day. See you guys at goal. Looking not good. I'm seeing some birds. They're circling, but they're not really climbing. Birds can't do it. I can't do it either. I don't like the way the clouds look. I don't like this high cirrus layer. Looks like it may improve, but I'm gonna give it some time. There's a buzzard flapping, man. Look. He can't do it. I can't do it.
That's me.
When you're standing in line at a competition for a tow, you basically have to go when they bring you the line. Something happened here. I couldn't time my cycle. I took off at the end of a thermal. If you look, you see it sort of humps over and I level out. Well, that's because I was catching the tail end of a cycle. And then as I got towed up, I was just hoping for the next one. And I lucked out, man. I caught something right at the end of the tow as I got to the very top. Look at me going up. Disconnected and off I went. Rode that sucker out of there. So pretty good tow, pretty good connection right off the toe. I was really enjoying it. About 20 miles into the flight, came with it a new personal best for me. The lowest low save to date. Ignore the altitude you see on here. It's not accurate. I was on approach coming into land in this field here to the left, but I was looking at the wind and I'd been watching the sun, and the sun had been baking this thing, and it was the only patch of sunshine that I saw. And I knew if there was anything, it was going to be right at the end of this field at the downwind side of it. Sure enough, man, I was coming in. I was getting ready to land. I think I had my feet coming out of my harness. I saw a buzzard and I started chasing a buzzard, and I started this slow turn and I just loitered and loitered. I was getting a couple beeps up, just basically zeros. I was turning in zeros, but zeros are lift. So I kept working it and kept working it. And I had a bailout. If you look to the other side of this field, I had some more fields, so I could have landed and basically just walked a little further to the road. So no big deal there. I had a safe bailout option, so I kept working it, and I ended up riding this thing all the way back to the top. It was an amazing experience. I was proud of that. New personal best, low save record for Kylo. And as you can see, I capitalized and I rode this thing up. The beeps started getting stronger and closer together, and I basically found the core where it started and rode it till it turned into a cloud up above me. The last few climbs of the flight, I wanted you to look at what was going on. They were pulling me to the north. The wind was pulling to the north, and I was having to push hard back to the west. So the climbs were bringing me off course, and then my glides were bringing me back to it. And it was just a tough fight, and there was some overdevelopment that was causing all that. At this point, I was about 5 miles from goal, and watch this last climb. It's weak, it's flat, and it's pulling me just away from the goal, basically. And at that point, I aborted, and I just landed by the road and called it all good after that. Woo! I flew some 60-something miles. I didn't make goal. I don't think anybody did. It was hard today, man. Got shaded, got light, and then it got crazy. And then it got light, and then the wind changed. I don't know that anybody's still flying or anybody's past me, so we're gonna find out. I didn't make goal. First time this week I didn't make goal. So Josiah said he ordered us some not goal pizza. I don't guess he did either. Beside a Texas highway, probably getting red bugs and ticks, but it's shady, so I'm gonna sit in the shade and enjoy my not goal. Drink some water. I gotta bring beer back to the end of the runway. I got some Love Street at a truck stop on the way here. Let me go tell you about my day. Let me get on this unicycle. Today it ended. Nobody made goal. And when I landed, I was the furthest one out. I don't know if that's good or bad.
Back.
It's Tim, y'all.
Hey.
What's up, Tim?
All right, I'll see you in a minute.
All right, bud. Later. Tim and I towed up at the exact same time on each side of the runway. I was staying right and he was staying left. We got in the same thermal. We disconnected at the same time and immediately started turning with each other and going up. I saw two guys that had towed ahead of us and I caught up with them, and then they went right and I went left. There was a line of cloud streets to the west and the winds were favoring that direction, but it was a crosswind task. The cirrus layer shaded everything and it got real weak, and I went down to land and I was on my approach for my spot. I had my actual spot picked that I was gonna land at, and on the way to it I felt a bump and I saw a bird. There was a field behind me. I said, worst case, I gotta walk further. It was a gamble and I took it, and I rode that for just drifting. 0, 100 up, 0, 100 up. And I never sank, but I never climbed more than just a little bit. And I looked back and seen that I had climbed some, and I kept working it, and it got a little stronger. And then I saw some other birds. They joined me, and man, we rode that son of a. I didn't look at the altimeter. I'm not an instrument staring kind of guy. I look around. I look up when I'm thermaling, and I look where I'm going when I'm gliding. And I'll glance at the instrument briefly. That's the way an instrument's supposed to be used. That's the lightest stuff I've ever been in that I held on to and was real gentle with it and worked it super easy. I was feeling it, man. I was in that zone. What they say, that zone. Feels good. It's Mark. Let's see what Mark's up to.
I was just about to take them back and I'm gonna come back this way.
Okay, bring the chairs.
Okay.
All right, cool.
Done.
So we're gonna hang out at the end of the runway at Hearne and have like a little celebration drink. The flight was 4 hours and 17 minutes. You know, I feel some pride that what I've studied on and learned and spent so much time doing, it seems like maybe I can do it good. I didn't know if I could or not till I got here. Never been a distance guy, but you gotta figure out where it's going and where you need to be and where it's gonna send you the furthest to get to a spot or just to get the furthest. Cause you're at the mercy of some elements. You have to utilize what's going on, and there's a lot of time in this, I guess, strategy. And this XC flying to a goal is pretty intense mental focus. Maybe I'm a fiend for that. I don't know. I think I am. I do it with all kinds of stuff. It's weird. I like beer. It's getting a little deep around here, y'all. I'm wore out. I'm sleep deprived. I'm exhausted. I'm actually past the physical exhaustion part. My muscles are tuning up, you know, they got a little sore at first. It's a lot of work, and everybody's had some whacks here, I think. Josiah took a big one today. I kept my glider open the whole day, even in some rowdy weather. There was a big development. Thunderstorms developed north of us. The wind switched and it turned into this suck toward the thunderstorm mode. I was crosswind, crosswind, trying to get to go, and I was going down. And the thermal that I caught, my last one that I tried to low save, I rode it just as far as I could, and it was petering out, and I was fixing to either have to go over some trees or put it in where they keep African lions. I didn't want to do either one of those, I think. So I went over the field over by the road. I glided in. Landed safely. Mark's here. We're gonna jam some rap music and drink some beer. Much love, guys. Thank you. Have a good morning. Everybody's getting suited up. We're about to try for a 50-something mile goal today. Rob and me are gonna have beer in the goal together. Damn right. You guys there? Okay, so to recap what happened on the first part of that day, what was happening was there was a convergence that was happening. We were getting a front pushing in from the north. It caused like a lift band to happen, but it was real weak. Everybody that got out of the airport ended up going maybe 20 miles, and most of them bombed out. What Josiah and Tim and myself, we left and went and ate tacos at the local taco spot, then came back with a full belly, and we had basically a totally different weather pattern than the guys had that morning, and launched at maybe 3 o'clock, and the lift was half as strong as it had been all week. We flew all the way until the goal was up, 6 o'clock. At 6 o'clock you land and get a ride home, and I ended up getting in a small gaggle. There were 4 pilots and a light thermal. Andrew and I were the only ones that really pushed out of that and got out of there. I think everyone else bombed. We ended up getting some pretty good lift and made a pretty good little cross country there until, here, check it out. Because all the pilots had already gone and there was nobody in line, we were able to time our cycle just right. Notice I started at 200 feet and I hit a thermal and I pin off at 700. I only climbed 500 feet on this tow before connecting on a thermal. That's about as low as I've ever pinned off and then connected with a thermal. What we've got here is some rare third-party footage of yours truly thermaling on a paraglider. Thanks, Brother Tim. I got some footage now because of you. Appreciate it, bro. I'm going into the wind. This is a hard flight. I'm barely making any progress. When I thermal, I backtrack. So it's no good. But I'm going to go and keep going until I can't. I don't think I'll make goal today. There is lift out here. I may just keep working at it till 6 o'clock. See how it goes. Alright, y'all. Back to work. There's a cloud coming up. I'm probably going to hit some turbulence. I told you paragliding videos suck. There's the last hombre of the day. We were flying together. He went to a big cloud. I went right toward the sunshine. But I got hemmed up. His big cloud shaded my sunshine. So task is over. He's got to land and we got to bring him home. Gotta throw another huge shout out to our Olivia, our retrieval driver. Without the drivers, you just can't do stuff like this. They're the ones who really make it happen. This guy and I have been flying for a couple of days now.
We're like this.
My sky buddy for the Lonestar Championship. I think we did the whole flight together today. I bombed and he went on a few more miles, but
yeah, it's fun.
we've done some miles together. It's like the only person I've really flown with here. 6 is completed. Morning did not look good. It was a convergence happening and people were bombing. I bombed my first 2 tows. I said, you know what? It just ain't right. So we had time. When I've got time, I went and ate some tacos. Got fueled up for the day proper. Josiah and Tim and I came back after the tacos, and most people had already done their flights and scratched out, a few miles. I hooked up to tow. There were 4 guys in a gaggle, and Tim and I towed up at the same time and disconnected in a thermal. Rode it, scratched it hard. It was not strong. The day was not strong today, and it was a slow day. I went toward the task and I ended up with 25 miles. Andrew and I were flying together and he went left under a huge cloud. I was scared of the cloud, so I didn't want to go there. He ended up getting a little lift out of it. It didn't overdevelop, thank goodness, didn't suck him, but he's able to go 3 or 4 miles further than me. But it was at the end of the task, so I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know how the scoring works really on this thing. It's all kind of new to me, but there was some overdevelopment. I'll show you here in just a second. It looks like you can see it out in the distance. I don't know how many points I got. I'm not sure. I really have absolutely no idea how any of that works. My radio, the battery died, so I had to change radios out mid-flight. I had a spare, but Andrew, we were close enough to each other. I hollered at him, woohoo, and he said, radio. I thought he was saying turn on your radio, but what he was saying was no radio. So it was a little communication confusion. I was thermaling and getting my new radio out and punching the frequency in at the same time, and it was difficult. I ended up getting it all punched in. I was like, hey Andrew, I'm here, man. Sorry, I didn't have a battery. Crickets. So anyway, what he was saying was no radio. We couldn't get a hold of him when it was time to land. He kept flying after the task, but he was watching. He knew what time it was. He's an experienced pilot. It was a good day, but I'm enjoying it. It's almost over. I'm kind of ready to get home. I've been flying 6 days straight, some huge tasks. Today's flight was probably my shortest one at 2 hours and 20 minutes. So I'm signing off. Much love, guys. Day 7 was like somebody lit a fuse and the sky was poised to explode, which made for some excellent lift. But these were some pictures I took of goal. Yeah, I couldn't get there. Here, check out the story.
Landed out. It overdeveloped badly. I could have made it there, but it wasn't worth the risk. This is just a game we're playing. I ain't freaking around with gigantic overdevelopment and thunderstorms, and there's a gust front coming off of it right now. We're finna see it hit. Watch these trees behind me. Boom, you see them wiggling? That's a gust front coming off that stuff I just landed from. So that tells me that it was a wise move. Don't regret it. You know, competition's over. I've had a lot of fun. Learned a ton about my glider. I mean, I've spent like 35 hours in the air or something like that. I don't know, I'll have to add it up. It seems like a month. It seems like I've been in the air for a month. It started as a little shower and turned into a bigger one, and then some more. And then I could see goal. I was about 8 miles from goal, and it was rain on both sides of it. So I said, put it down by the road. Well, it's raining. I'm eating my my gold candy. Bought a pecan praline. I said I wasn't gonna eat it till I made gold, but since I didn't make gold since I bought it. Yummy, yummy. It was a fun day though. It was a fun flight. Thermals were kicking off everywhere. Of course, on days that it overdevelops, the reason for that development is the lift that's happening. It's lifting all that moisture into the air. It's low pressure. Sun hits the ground. It's like, woo! I was real impressed with my skills on this flight. When I glided to the next, where I thought the next thermal would be, every time I did it, I looked and there were buzzards gliding the same place I was going. I wasn't following them, but they were there going the same, because I guess they know. I don't know. Maybe I'm starting to think like a bird. Anyhow, I like paragliding competitions. Well, I guess when I'm sitting on the side of the road for an hour, I might as well reflect on it a little bit. All the rumors were right. You learn so much. Now, of course, I wasn't flying with big gaggles like most competitions, like what you usually think of as a competition. Lord, just being out there and reading the terrain and getting practice. It's all practice. But having a goal, I've never had a goal. You know, it's not like paramotoring where you take the motor and you just, you know, go to it. You have to like hop around from lift to lift, and you gotta kind of know where the lift is happening to do it properly. And sometimes the wind is in your face and you're moving pretty slow on these paragliders. That's interesting. First time I've ever had goals to hit. Not that I have to, but using the weather patterns to nail whatever it is from several miles away, dozens and 100 miles. I flew 100 miles and landed where I was supposed to land. Well, a paraglider, 85 miles. I've done some 50-mile flights, maybe. This one was only 25, but still 25 miles without anything but a wing. That trips me out. It's amazing. So anyway, turn this thing off and I guess drink some water. That's Kyle the dog. Hey man, I've never met a Kyle the dog before. Everybody's talking to Kyle and I'm like, yeah, what? You want your ball? I'm like, no.
It's a real tail.
All right, yeah, I got the tail.
After all the track logs were turned in and everybody got settled and cleaned up, Cuervo treated us to one of his special wild game feast. If you've never been privy to one of these, it's quite amazing. Very tasty. Then there was socializing and hanging out, and then it was time for the awards. I took first on the last day, but it wasn't enough to beat Josiah Soule. He came in first. Third place was Walter Castillo, High Lady, Melissa Morton, and John Davis for the most improved. Congratulations, everybody. It was so much fun, regardless of the scores.
So a real quick truck stop debrief. I won the day. It just went off like clockwork today. Today's flight was special. I knew last night it was gonna kick off. As soon as the sun hit the ground, it was gonna explode, and it did. It just got exploded too big before I could make it to goal. So I had a plan, I executed. About to hit the road, y'all. I got a long ride. I'm gonna go as far as I can, and then I'm gonna get some sleep, some shut-eye, some snoozing, and then I'm gonna get up and keep going. Much love, y'all. Number 2 overall, Kyle out.
Hey Kyle, Tim here. Just want to congratulate you on your podium finish here at the comp. Yeah, congratulations Kyle on finishing on the podium. It's been a great week flying with you. Had a good time. Love you. Bye.